Your name is not being whispered once and then forgotten. Your name is being carried. It is being carried through family conversations, through casual questions, through little comments that were supposed to sound normal, but somehow land like pressure. Someone says your name at the table, and this person's whole body knows before their face can pretend not to, and that is the Six of Wands energy here. Not fortune telling. Symbolically, this card is recognition, public acknowledgement, being seen by the crowd, being named in front of people, being treated like someone who has already won a place in the conversation before you even enter the room. And that is exactly what is happening. You are not physically there, but your presence is riding through that family like a banner. Your name is the thing being lifted up. Your name is the thing that makes people pause. Their mother says something about you. A sibling brings you up like it is casual. A cousin asks, whatever happened with them? Someone in the family group chat reacts to something connected to you, and suddenly this person is staring at their phone too long. They try to act normal. They try to keep their expression flat. They try to respond like your name is just a name. But inside, something rises. Because every time their family brings you up, it feels like a parade they did not agree to attend. It feels like everyone around them is quietly announcing what they have been trying to keep private. The Six of Wands is not quiet recognition. It is recognition that becomes visible, recognition that other people can see. And that is what is driving them insane, because the family already sees you as important. They are not asking about you because you are random. They are not mentioning you because you made no impact. They are bringing you up because something about you stayed, something about your presence, your mind, your energy, your way of being entered their world and did not leave politely. It stayed. It sat at the table before you did. It became part of their language. Stay here, because this first card is only the public layer. The next card is going to show what this person does privately after everyone else stops talking. And here it is, the star, and not in the way people usually soften it. Because this is not just hope. This is not just healing. This is what happens after the room goes quiet and this person is left alone with the part of themselves they cannot perform in front of everybody else. The star is private exposure. It is the moment after the family dinner, after the phone is put down, after the conversation moves on, after everyone else forgets they even said your name. But they do not forget. They go quiet. They take your name with them. They carry it into their room, into their car, into the bathroom mirror, into that late night silence where nobody is watching their face anymore. And that is when the act drops. That is when they stop pretending your name was just a name. That is when they let themselves look. They check something. Maybe it is your page. Maybe it is an old message. Maybe it is a picture they told themselves they were not going back to. Maybe it is your last conversation, your last post, your last sign that you are still existing somewhere outside of their control. And they try to make it casual. They tell themselves, I'm just checking. They tell themselves it doesn't mean anything. They tell themselves I was already on my phone. But their body knows. Their body knows the difference between scrolling and searching. Their body knows the difference between curiosity and being pulled. Their body knows the difference between a random thought and a name that still has a pulse. And that is exactly what is happening. Because when their family says your name in public, it creates a sound. But when they are alone, that sound becomes an echo. It follows them, it repeats, it gets quieter, but it gets closer. And this is the part they do not want anyone to see. They can control their face at the table, they can control their tone in the group chat. They can say, oh yeah, them, like you are just a chapter they already closed. But privately, they are not as finished as they sound. Privately, they are trying to understand why your name still opens something in them, why one little mention can change their mood, why a casual question from a cousin can make them replay an entire history in their head. And the family may not know all the details, but they know enough. They know the room changes when your name enters it. And this is where the Five of Cups reversed starts speaking. Not as a prediction, as a pattern. Because upright, this energy would be someone staring at what spilled, staring at what went wrong, staring at the loss so hard they cannot see what is still standing behind them. But reversed? Reversed is when other people start noticing that the grief has not fully left the body. Reversed is when someone says, you seem different lately, and this person laughs too fast. Reversed is when a mother can hear the sadness under a casual answer. Reversed is when a sibling knows the joke did not land because your name entered the conversation right before it. This is not background noise anymore. This is pressure. Because their family is not just randomly mentioning you. They are responding to a change they already felt. Maybe they noticed this person became quieter after you. Maybe they noticed they started acting harder, colder, more distracted. Maybe they noticed that after things shifted with you, this person tried to look fine, but the fine looked forced, and families catch that. Even when nobody says it directly. They catch the pause. They catch the way someone looks down at their plate. They catch the way the phone suddenly becomes interesting. They catch the way this person answers too quickly. Like they rehearsed being unaffected. And that is exactly why your name keeps coming back up. Because to the family, you are not just a person from the past. You are connected to a before and after. Before you, this person was one way. After you, something in them moved. Something in them tightened. Something in them started carrying a story they did not explain well enough. So the family fills in the blanks. A mother says your name because she remembers how this person talked about you before things got complicated. A sibling brings you up because they remember the mood shift. A cousin asks about you because they can feel there is more underneath the answer. And this person hates that because every casual mention becomes evidence. Evidence that they did not hide it as well as they thought. Evidence that the family remembers more than they were supposed to remember. Evidence that your presence made a real imprint, not only on them, but on the people around them. And the most uncomfortable part, they may not just be remembering you. They may be comparing everyone else to you. And that is where the Knight of Cups comes in. Not as some fantasy. Not as some promise that someone is riding in with perfect words and perfect timing. Symbolically, this is the image of someone carrying emotion, but trying to make it look graceful. trying to make it look controlled, trying to make the cup look beautiful, even when the hand holding it is not steady. And that is this person. Because when the family compares other people to you, it does not always sound obvious. It may not be they are not like you. It may be softer than that, smaller than that, more dangerous than that. A mother says, they were always so easy to talk to. A sibling says, they actually understood you. A cousin says, I liked them. Someone laughs and says, they had a good energy. And suddenly this person is sitting there with a cup they do not know where to place. Because you became a standard, not because you were trying to compete. Not because you walked into their family trying to be unforgettable, but because something about you landed naturally. Your warmth, your mind, your humor, your calm, the way you carried yourself, the way you did not have to force your presence to be felt. You fit into the room in a way people remembered. And now, when someone new is around, or when this person tries to act like they have moved forward, the family still has that memory sitting there. Quietly, politely, but sitting there. And this is what unsettles them. Because comparison exposes value. It exposes what they dismissed. It exposes what they mishandled. It exposes what they thought they could replace by simply not talking about it. But the family is talking about it. The family is saying your name. The family is remembering the way you made things feel. And every time they do, this person has to face the difference between what they told themselves and what everyone else still recognizes. They may have told the family it wasn't that deep. They may have acted like you were just someone passing through. They may have tried to make the story smaller so their own choices would look cleaner. But the family did not fully buy it. Because people can hear when a story has been edited. They can feel when someone is leaving out the part that matters most. And that is where the Five of Wands shows up. Not as chaos for the sake of chaos. Not as drama, just to make the room louder. Symbolically, this is what happens when too many little reactions start crossing each other. Too many opinions. Too many observations. Too many people picking up sticks and pretending they are not pointing at the same thing. And the same thing is you. Because now, every time your name comes up, this person is not just dealing with their own feelings, they are dealing with the room. They are dealing with the way one person looks at them, the way another person waits for their answer, the way somebody makes a comment and then watches what happens next. They say, I'm over it, but their voice gets tight. They say, it wasn't serious, but they explain too much. They say, we don't talk anymore. But their eyes move toward the phone. They say, that was a long time ago. But their body reacts like it happened yesterday. And that is the contradiction. The words are calm. The energy is not. The words are finished. The reaction is not. The words are trying to close the door, but the body keeps turning toward it every time somebody says your name on the other side. And family notices that. They notice when the answer comes half a second too late. They notice when the joke sounds forced. They notice when this person suddenly needs water, suddenly needs to check something, suddenly needs to change the subject, suddenly has a reason not to stay in that part of the conversation. It is subtle, but it is not invisible. And that is what makes this pressure build. Because the family is not attacking them. The family is not necessarily sitting there trying to expose them in some cruel way. But the family is watching the mismatch. They are watching the difference between the story this person tells and the reaction this person has. And that difference is loud. Louder than the denial, louder than the casual tone, louder than the little shrug they use when they pretend your name did not just land directly in the center of them. Because the secret is not your name. The secret is what your name does to them. The secret is how quickly their peace gets interrupted, how fast their confidence shifts, how one small mention can turn a normal family moment into an emotional test they did not study for. And someone in that family may already know. Someone may be bringing you up on purpose. Someone may be bringing you up on purpose, and that is where the Seven of Pentacles comes in. Not as waiting with no meaning, not as sitting still because nothing is happening. Symbolically, this is someone watching what has been growing underneath the surface. Watching the pattern, watching the small things add up until they become too obvious to ignore. Because someone in that family has been paying attention. They may not know every message. They may not know every argument. They may not know what was said behind closed doors, what was left unsent, what apology never came, what confession got swallowed before it reached the mouth. But they know the weather changed. They know this person did not come out of that connection untouched. They know there was a before, and they know there is an after. That is the Seven of Pentacles energy here. Quiet observation. Long-term noticing. Someone standing back and looking at what has grown from something this person tried to bury. And that is what makes it so uncomfortable. Because this family member is not just gossiping. They are not just being nosy for entertainment. They are reading the room. They are looking at the harvest of this person's choices. They are noticing what keeps coming back up even after everyone pretends the subject is finished. So they say your name softly, casually. Maybe while passing food across the table. Maybe while sitting in the living room. Maybe while scrolling through their phone. Maybe in that tone people use when they want the comment to sound accidental. But it is not fully accidental. They are watching. They are watching the pause. They are watching the mouth tighten. They are watching whether this person looks annoyed, sad, defensive, guilty, or too calm. Too calm is also an answer. And that is exactly what this person feels. They feel tested. They feel like the family is holding up a mirror and pretending it is just conversation. They feel like your name has become a question nobody is asking directly, but everybody can hear. Because the question is not what happened with you. The question is, why do you still react? The question is, why does this still matter? The question is, why does their name still have access to you? And every time the family brings you up, this person has to stand in front of that question again. Sooner or later, silence stops protecting them. Sooner or later, the pressure asks for a decision, and this is where the King of Wands reversed starts to show itself. Not as power, as pride under pressure. Because upright, this would be someone confident enough to act, someone direct enough to say what they mean. Someone who can stand in the fire of their own feelings without pretending they are not warm. But reversed? Reversed is when the fire is still there, but the person does not know what to do with it. So it turns into control. It turns into silence. It turns into acting unbothered, so nobody can tell how bothered they are. And that is this person right now. They are not calm because they do not care. They are calm because they are trying to manage the room. They are trying to manage the family. They are trying to manage the version of themselves they already presented to everybody. Because maybe they already said too much. Maybe they told people they moved on. Maybe they made it seem like you were the one who cared more. Maybe they spoke from pride when they were hurt, and now the family keeps bringing your name back like a receipt they forgot was still on the table. And every mention makes that pride feel smaller. Every mention presses on the part of them that knows they were not fully honest. Not with the family, not with you, not even with themselves. They want to look strong. But your name makes them feel exposed. They want to look in control. But one casual question can pull their attention across the room. They want to act like the story is finished, but their own body keeps reacting like there is still a page they never read out loud. And this is where the internal conflict gets loud, because part of them wants to defend the silence. Part of them wants to keep pretending. Part of them wants to say, why does everyone keep bringing them up? Like, the problem is the family. But the problem is not the family. The family is only touching what was already sensitive. The family is only saying out loud what this person keeps trying to keep buried. And that is what makes them restless. Because if they reach out, they have to admit you still matter. If they stay silent, they have to keep surviving every time your name walks into the room without you. And the real reason it is driving them insane, it is not just because their family keeps mentioning you. It is because a part of them is relieved when they do. And that is where the Queen of Pentacles begins to speak. Not as someone begging, not as someone chasing, not as someone needing to prove their worth in a room they are not even standing in. Symbolically, this is presence that has weight, presence that feels grounded, presence that people remember because it did not feel empty. It felt real. It felt steady. It felt like something that could have belonged. And that is why their family keeps circling back to you. Because your energy did not feel temporary to them. It did not feel like noise. It did not feel like someone passing through just to be seen and then disappear. It felt like substance. It felt like someone who brought something into the room. A certain calm, a certain warmth, a certain way of making people feel like you were not performing connection, you were actually present in it. And this is the part that gives this person permission. Because when the family says your name first, they do not have to admit they were thinking about you already. They can just respond. They can say, yeah, I wonder how they're doing. They can say, I haven't talked to them. They can say, I don't know, while secretly wanting someone to keep the conversation open for just a little longer. Because if they bring you up, it exposes them. But if someone else brings you up, they can hide inside the conversation. And that is exactly what they are doing. They are using the family's curiosity as cover. They are letting somebody else open the door so they can stand near it without being accused of wanting to walk through. Because your name is a doorway now. Every time it is said, something opens. A memory opens. A feeling opens. A version of them opens that they have been trying to keep locked behind pride, behind silence, behind I'm fine, behind that was nothing, behind it is what it is. But it was not nothing. And the family can feel that. They can feel that your energy was not just romantic. It was not just emotional. It was not just attached to one private story between you and this person. It entered the atmosphere. It touched the way people saw them. It touched the way people understood what they were capable of feeling. And now your name is still loud in rooms you are not even in. And that is where the Ace of Wands comes in. Not as a chase, not as you needing to do anything, not as you needing to prove, post, perform, remind, reach, or make them remember. Symbolically, this is the spark that still travels even when you are not in the room. The beginning that never fully lost its charge. The thing that was supposed to fade, but somehow still has heat on it. And that is your imprint here. You did not have to force your name into those conversations. You did not have to sit at that table. You did not have to send a message to make the phone feel heavy in their hand. Your presence already did something. It left a signal. It left a feeling. It left a spark that their family can still recognize, even if nobody knows exactly what to call it. And this is why the Six of Wands from the beginning still matters. Because recognition is not always applause. Sometimes recognition is someone remembering the way the room felt when you were part of it. Sometimes recognition is a mother saying your name because she remembers the softness this person had around you. Sometimes recognition is a sibling mentioning you because they remember how different the energy was. Sometimes recognition is a casual question that does not feel casual at all. Your name is being carried because something about you lit something up, and that is not arrogance. That is not ego. That is not you needing to be placed above anyone else. It is simply impact, real impact. The kind people feel before they explain it. The kind that enters a family's language quietly. The kind that becomes a reference point without asking permission. And this person feels that. They feel that your name still has movement. They feel that your presence still has heat. They feel that even when they try to cool the story down, somebody in the family says one small thing, and suddenly the spark is right there again. Right at the table. Right in the group chat. Right inside their chest. And the hardest part is that you are not doing anything. That is what makes it louder. You are not forcing the recognition. You are not standing there demanding to be remembered. You are not begging the room to say your name. The room is doing it on its own. Because your energy stayed. And now this pressure is building towards something. But before you expect anything from them, you need to understand what this pressure may cause next. Next is not something loud at first, and that is where the moon reversed comes in, not as fear swallowing the whole story, not as confusion staying forever. Symbolically, this is what happens when something hidden starts losing its cover. When the feeling that was buried under excuses begins rising close enough to be seen. When the story they told themselves starts breaking apart because too many people have noticed the truth underneath it. The moon reversed is exposure after denial. It is the moment where they cannot keep saying, I don't know why everyone keeps bringing them up. Because deep down, they do know. They know why your name keeps landing heavy. They know why the table goes quiet for a second. They know why the phone becomes too interesting. They know why the group chat suddenly feels personal. They know why their face has to work so hard to stay normal while their body reacts before they can stop it. And this is what may push them into something. Maybe a confession. Maybe a message. Maybe an apology that starts small because Pride will not let it come out fully at first. Maybe a private realization they do not say to anyone yet. Maybe just one night where they finally stop blaming the family and admit, even to themselves, this still affects me. But hear this clearly. Your power is not in waiting for that. Your power is not in staring at your phone, wondering if the pressure has finally become strong enough. Your power is not in proving that you mattered, because the whole reading has already shown that. You mattered. Not because they said it perfectly. Not because they handled it correctly. Not because they gave you the recognition when you deserved it. But because your name is still being carried. It is still moving through that family like a banner. It is still sitting at the table. It is still entering the room before you do. It is still making this person pause, tighten, soften, remember, defend, deflect, and wonder why something they claimed was over still has so much presence. And that is the emotional truth here. You are not random. You are not erased. You are not some passing mention that disappeared the second the conversation changed. Something about you stayed in the language of that family. Something about you stayed in the way they remember this person. Something about you stayed in the space between what this person says and what everyone can feel. And they can call it casual if they want to. They can pretend your name just came up. But your name is not just coming up. Your name is being carried because your presence left a mark they cannot easily explain away.